It's good to know nothing changes.
Welcome back to it.
And that every day it's always different. $304. I got the number because I listened to you guys talk about frozen avocados. Hello, JJ and Michael.
Welcome back.
Hey, Andrew.
I think that, one, I now know more about crosswords than I ever wanted to know.
You're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. Congrats.
And two, your conversation about the frozen avocado popsicle sandwich, whatever the heck that thing is from Disneyland.
Did you click on the link?
My takeaway from this is that my previous inclinations that form factor matters in deciding whether something's a crime is now 100% proven true.
I thought you were about to say every day we stray further from God's light.
If this were sliced instead of on a stick, I think you might think it was some sort of very interesting version of guacamole.
Right. Like, is this like a modern art food? Like,
Yeah.
Totally. Right.
But on a stick, you look at it and you're like, this is not edible.
Just, yeah. And the pictures of like, imagine taking a chomp out of that, you know?
Yeah, just take a honking bite where your teeth marks are left in it.
And it's cold.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is the temperature. I think that's what we settled on as being the real thing that made it just all very weird.
Again, pico de gallo is generally cold anyway. And so, like,
Yeah,
if you...
sure.
And the crema and all that. So if you, instead of thinking about picking this up and having to eat it like some sort of weird lick to the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop, versus if it were sliced on the plate and you're like, ooh, what is this fancy mousse?
Or you cut it into slices and just put it on top of chips.
Done.
Like,
Yeah.
just make the thing that is good that people like instead of trying to be weird.
They were too, what's the line? They were too busy wondering if they could.
Not if they
decide
should.
if they should. Yeah. Uh-huh. Thank you, Ian Malcolm, for the endless wisdom. Oh, I don't have a lot of food to report from my trip. I was away on a trip to the foreign nation, to us, of Denmark. Not a foreign nation if you're from Denmark, I guess.
Shout outs to our international listeners, I guess.
Shout outs to the Danes, man. They deserve a lot of clout. They gave the world a lot many times ago. And one thing we'll talk about later, specifically, and one thing we'll talk about after this comment. They have interesting food there. A lot of it is world famous. Things like pickled herring.
Mm-hmm.
Bud, pickled herring, not so bad. Especially they like to eat it with curry.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
The issue is, I'm sure if I tasted it, I'd probably like it.
Yeah,
It's just the idea of pickled fish doesn't sound good on the face.
So the thing is, like,
That's all.
a lot of
That's culture, I'm sure.
Yeah, so like cultural foods are never what they sound like. You don't just eat a popsicle of pickled herring.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like the pickled herring comes out, it goes on to very, very specifically Danish bread that they make there called rugbrød, which is like this rye brown bread that's very it's not hard is the wrong word, but it's like a very textured rye bread, and then you put curry on it, which usually also comes with some other side stuff that's also pickled. So you make these like open face small roll sandwiches. I think I can't remember exactly how they say that one. SMO with a line through it. RR. There's like a lot of letters there that I wish I could say better.
Sure. Yeah.
But that's like a whole genre of food that pickled herring is a part of. Like they also eat a version of pate called leopoldstai that is like pate and anchovies, mixed together that you eat with pickled beets. And so I think the food is interesting, but it's not like stuff you'd write home about. And so people pick out the stuff that is quote unquote weird, which is not actually that weird once you sit down and like see how they eat it, you know? Not a nation of food crimes in general, I would say. They are a nation of something we love, though. Lego.
Yeah. Ooh.
Ah, yes.
I want you to picture in your mind's eye the classic Lego. 2 high, 2x4 rectangular brick. You know what I mean?
Okay.
The
I was picturing
Lego.
that before you said it.
The Lego. If you take 6 of those and put them together in any combination, any way they snap together, any way physically that you can attach them, how many combinations do you think there are?
Do they have to be fully secured? Can I have like one hanging off the edge and then like cant it at weird angles?
No, they must be. They can't be like angled out. They have to be fully secured to another brick.
Okay. And there's 6 of them?
Yeah,
The answer has to be really big.
yeah, it is. It's large. I'm playing the Wheel of
there's, like-
Fortune music right now.
There's like, there's got to be like factorial math going on here or something. It's got to
It's
be
a
like
lot.
100,000 or something, right?
Okay, so bigger. 900 million.
All right, so I was wrong by a factor of several
1,000.
tens. Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't chime in because I saw this.
Okay. 900 million ish is the answer. So basically almost a billion. So when you go to the place called the Lego House, which is not really a museum and not really an amusement park, but more like, man, the Discovery Cube is what I would use to describe it, but that's not helpful really.
I know what you mean, but yes, yeah.
It's very much a tactile version of experience with actual Lego. So like Legoland is like, look at all the crazy things we can do with Lego. Also, we got roller coasters. And then there's like museums where you'd go and you'd be like, so in 1903, Lego began as the company who made wooden ducks that you then pulled along on the floor, which is true, actually. I don't know if the year's right, but they did start by making the wooden duck toy that, you know, black and white photos of your great grandparents, they had it in there.
Cool.
This is more like, hey kids and adults, actually, probably come to the Lego house and build this type of thing and stick it in the computer and watch us animate it. Or for Easter, come make eggs that we'll take pictures of and put in a giant display. Or walk through the Hall of the Masters and see what these guys made out of one Lego Technic kit, which I'm going to buy and do now that I've seen this guy literally make everything from a flamingo to a jet out of one Lego Technic kit.
Dang.
Yeah, like one of the $20 ones too, by the way. I have a picture of it. I will send out.
Double dang.
Okay.
Yeah, it's shocking how much stuff the guy made out of it. And I'm sure most of it's not even in the book, but I took a picture of like every single one because like, I'm going to do this. This is amazing. Stuff like that is in there. There's a lot of like build your minifigure, put your minifigure in front of a thing. They also have more interesting like huge city setups where they had these like AI citizens that were begging for types of buildings like SimCity, and if you built the building and put it on the map, then the map would change over into it's just so much stuff, you know. It was crazy, but
Like,
at the end,
very, very hands-on.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, a really like an experience zone for kids.
Did they
And
have
adults.
a Lego maxi figure anywhere?
You mean the April Fool's joke?
Yeah.
Let me say yes is the answer to that question. There are many Legos there that are bigger than you.
Nice.
We made Legos that you would then put into like a fish tank, like digitized them into a fish tank. They swam around in schools. It was fun. It was a nice little thing to do, especially since Legoland is closed for the winter, quote unquote. It's spring, I know, but they don't have spring there as quickly as we do. The thing that was interesting is at the end of it, you get 6 red bricks and you scan your ID badge and they give you one of the unique combinations.
It's very cool.
Okay.
So my combination is combination 100,000 to, like 257. And my kids each got a different combination. My wife got a different combination. And they give you the number of the combo and a set of bricks. And that is your personal combo forever.
I guess they figure by the time 900 million people come through the museum, they can start over.
Yep.
Some of those 900 million will no longer be with us and they can reuse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Very cool, man. I assume there's like a shop somewhere also. So you can
They
buy
have.
Legos, of course.
It's a relatively normal Lego store that's there. They have a few. I think there were 3 full-on sets that were unique to the store. Quite large, actually. So we didn't buy any. I think one of them was a architect. You know how they have that architecture series where you could build like the Eiffel Tower or the Colosseum, the smaller ones, not the big one.
Yeah.
So they had one where you could build the building. They had one of the wooden duck that actually worked if you pulled it. And they had one of the injection molding machines they used to make Legos. So you could like build that stuff and it was all semi-functional. And, other things that keychains and all sorts of little unique stores there too. Yeah. Fun little spot. I suggest if people were like, I'm going to fly to Denmark and go to Legoland, don't skip it. It's right there next to they own the town of Billund. It's everything there is Lego. You might as well do all of it. There's a museum separate from that. There's, all sorts of cool. You can fly there. You can fly right into that town if you want to. We didn't go there for that only. We were there for many other things. They make pretty good beer in that country, I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah?
Nice.
Just in general. And
what is there any particular style that's a specialty over there?
They're really into, oh God, I'm going to say it wrong. I think it's Påske beer. It's P-A with an O over it, S-K-E. I think it's Påske. I might get that wrong. I'm trying really hard. I promise.
Okay. We're not Danish speakers.
I know, but my wife is. And so I'm trying. The word, though, means Easter. And just like Oktoberfest, I don't know if it's true with other countries, but the Danes every Danish brewery makes a Påske beer. An Easter beer, I guess. And so we were there right in the heat of all the Easter beers coming out, and that was fun.
That's
so,
cool.
the names Carlsberg and Mikkeller and all those have them, but also all the names you don't know, like Ebeltoft Brewing and Eru Brewing and all these other ones. But how we have like the craft movement? They also have the craft movement there, but they've had it for a while longer. And so it's kind of already settled down into like everybody just chill and make relaxed beers.
That's cool, though.
I mean,
they have
half
good stuff.
Yeah. Half the time you could drive by a brewery and never even see it. It's not like here where you've got huge neon signs and little giant lines out the front all the time and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
There's a lot of breweries that don't have giant signs and lines out the front, I want to say. But the biggest ones, of course, do.
Yeah. Even some of the smaller ones.
That's super cool, though.
Yeah.
I think that's super cool.
They make good beer there. Yeah. I know with travel, I didn't have a ton of time to play games because I had to be on a plane with children and that required attention. So I managed to sneak some stuff onto my phone. JJ, Michael, I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to participate in this. JJ,
Yes, hello.
you're responsible for this because I told you my favorite number was 33. So lights out, let's go racing.
Oh, Max Verstappen. Yeah. He's actually number 1 this year, I think.
I know, we talked about it, and
Yeah, I assume
show-
he has a lot of fans over there. Although he's
he's
the
Dutch,
Netherlands, I guess, right?
Yeah, he's Dutch. But we were going to talk about it earlier. The Danes gave us Kevin Magnussen.
Oh, I thought he was Swedish. Well, that's great.
I
like Kevin
Valtteri Bottas is Swedish or Finnish.
Okay.
No, he's Finnish.
Yeah, okay.
No, Magnussen is Danish. So yeah, I watched
He's
that
having a hell of a
show.
year, man.
No kidding. I watched that show, Drive to Survive.
The Netflix series, yeah.
Let me say, Michael,
Yeah, fill me in. I don't know this one.
it's Netflix decided in 2018. Am I right?
Yeah, this most recent one was season 4, I think.
Yeah.
They do
so
one
in
a year.
2018, Netflix was like, you know what's really hard for people to get into? Formula One racing.
They weren't wrong.
Okay. Yeah.
Very right about that. And so they're like, what if we made a show that was not exactly a documentary about Formula One, but instead we just sort of showed people the drama that is Formula One. I don't know if you'll remember, but a couple years ago, JJ and I were talking about Rich Energy.
Oh,
And,
Okay, yeah.
and the craziness surrounding the owner and like basically this energy drink company basically trying to scam an F1 team into getting their
is it even really a company? That's the thing I
That's
couldn't
the thing.
figure out.
right. So stuff like that apparently happens kind
Hold
of.
on, before we get off this topic really quick, there's an automotive journalist putting out a book about the Rich Energy thing specifically.
Oh wow.
I think it comes out later this year.
Oh
I think it's called like the Rich Energy book, and it has like interviews with all the people surrounding it, except obviously the Rich Energy people because they're probably trying to sue or so whatever.
yeah.
So anyway, people should check that out. Yes, continue, please. Yes.
Nothing as scammy as that, but the drama around Formula One is apparently thick most of the time, and is why a lot of people are actually fans of it.
I will tell you, the show manufactures that a bit more than it is.
Just getting to that, which is basically what Netflix decided was like, we could take this theory that people have about the drama, and like instead of making a documentary that is what you would normally see of a sports documentary, let's Netflix it up and like
They soap it up, man.
make it
Get
seem
a lot
like
of this soap opera in there.
there's a lot of drama going on all the time, and it plays actually really well.
The series is mega popular, you guys. I don't know if you know, it like has a ton of fans. I think people have said that show is single-handedly responsible for how popular F1 is in the US now, which is like way more popular than it ever has been.
I would not be surprised. I am a fan of that show. It's interesting who they follow and who they talk to the most and all that sort of stuff. It's only the people that give you basically the headlines. So like they only talk to Daniel Ricciardo and they only talk to what the principal of Red Bull and the people that like don't make that much noise. Like Max Verstappen is really good, right?
Yeah.
But he's hardly in the show because he doesn't make that many waves. He just races.
Were you watching the most recent season?
So I have not finished the most recent season yet.
But is that the one you're watching?
I started on plane flight number 1 on episode number 1 of season 1.
Okay, and so are you to season 4 then
I
at
have
this point?
started season 4. I am like 3 episodes into it.
So something you may not know about this most recent season, at some point during this past year, Max stopped talking to the Netflix people.
Oh.
He made a point of saying that he didn't like how the drama was being manufactured and how he was being portrayed in some instances, and decided he wasn't going to cooperate with them or sit down for their interviews or anything anymore. And there's like other drivers that do that too. He's not the only one who like refuses to talk to them. Not that like not that the drivers hate them or whatever. But
there's definitely times in there like where they say, "Oh, great, Netflix is here. We're gonna have bad luck this weekend."
Yeah, so there's that. All sports have a little bit of that superstition going on. I'm sure you guys all know. And there is a sense that the Netflix team follows bad teams because they want the drama.
I would not put it that way. I understand exactly what they're doing. And that is that they follow the people that actually have drama. They follow Mercedes quite a bit. They follow Red Bull quite a bit. And neither of those teams are bad. They follow the teams that are going to give you interesting stories, which is why they don't follow Williams hardly at all.
Being the second to last place on the grid every year is not interesting.
Well, right? Being second to last every year, not moving anywhere, not having good drivers, not doing anything interesting, and just basically surviving all the time, right? Like, what is interesting for Netflix about that? And instead, they pick the people in the middle and they manufacture the drama about, like, season 3 was all about the stealing the brake ducts for Aston Martin.
Oh yeah,
right.
And it was a huge controversy even in like sports journalism of F1 at the time, because it was like, hey, they kind of just copy pasted that other car. Is this like even legal? And people were like, why don't we just do this? Like,
well, Aston Martin made a good point. Why don't you just do it? And I think that happened with that DAS system or whatever, where they started. Mercedes.
Oh my God! Tell Michael what this is. Michael, this is like the most ingenious rule bending cheat.
Michael, you're not allowed.
It's within the rules.
You're not allowed to let the car steer itself, and you're not allowed to change how the car steers mid race.
Okay.
But if the car just so happens to be able to realign its wheels while it's moving, that might just sort of be within the rules.
Because no, not like, not just like the car can magically choose to do it. The driver,
oh yes. It's not that the car can just sort of choose to do it. It's that maybe the steering wheel moves in and out when the driver pushes on it or pulls on it.
And that causes the tires to, is it camber? If you're looking at the tires from the top down, it cants them towards each other.
Yes, so it must be camber.
Yeah, what's the word? Yeah.
I don't know the proper word, but essentially like it allows them to control the angle of the tire with respect to the other tire, like pull them not physically closer together, but angle them closer together.
So you can't let the car do that automatically, right? Like the car can't detect
like traction control is banned, right? Like there just isn't traction control. It's not allowed.
Right. But like if you were turning, the wheels couldn't respond in a different way while you're turning automatically.
And it's not automatic. The driver is doing something.
Yeah, but it's not automatic if you're, managing it with this system that, you know what I mean? It's like every single rule is a rule bend.
Oh yeah.
What was the thing with I love how Netflix is like, oh yeah, last year one of the teams kind of cheated. But we weren't going to mention it until we got to the Ferrari episode the season later, where it was like Ferrari had to have the rules, quote unquote, clarified for the fact that they were pumping too much gasoline into the engine.
There was one of the teams asked. This is why people.
Oh yeah, tell them the process.
This is the most.
Tell them the process for like, hey, you're cheating.
Thing. So the way that works is they don't accuse the other team of cheating. A team asks the FIA, which is the ruling body of motorsport in charge of Formula One and many other racing disciplines, and they say, hey, if we did this, would it be legal? And they publicly ask, right? They go, hey, everyone, we're asking the FIA, if we did this, would it be legal?
knowing that another team does it and that it likely isn't.
Sure, maybe
that's what they're certainly implying, right? And then if the FAA comes back and says like, yeah, this is fine, then all the teams will have it done next week.
Right. Yeah.
Or silently, one team will just all of a sudden be a lot worse next week.
Oh, it's not silent. No, it's not silent. The FIA puts out a thing that says, just to clarify, since Red Bull asked, no, you can't put more than X amount of gasoline into the engine by changing the fuel pipe to a certain size at this angle, because the rule says this. We're sorry this was unclear. Oh, interesting. Now Ferrari's running in 7th place
instead of 3rd, right? And it's like they don't say, like, Ferrari doesn't announce anything or whatever. All of a sudden they're just back in 7th, like at the end of the next week. Or whatever. It was, and the specific cheat they were accused of using was related to like mixing oil and fuel somehow in like a cheaty kind of way. Anyway,
the other funny,
it's all like super technical, but they're just like, there's a hole here, and like everyone, like, they try to cram as much power through every hole as possible.
Well, the other funny thing that they show you is like the behind the scenes of the team leaders talking to each other, being like, hey, I have to do this sort of a protest thing now because of this thing that you did, right? And they'll be like, yeah, of course you do. Why you would be a bad team leader if you didn't protest this? So instead of what JJ was saying earlier with the like j'accuse moment, the other option is that you say like, hey, so FIA, I protest that this team did this other thing that I don't think we should be allowed to do. Like, what do you think? And they'll be, then the FIA is like,
it really is like petty like this. And it's like, oh, you accused us of cheating? Excuse me, FIA. I heard that you could spend more money than is allowed if you do this one certain thing. And like it really is like tit for tat like that. There's
tattling.
So much of that.
It's all tattling.
It's tattling. It's all tattling for sure.
Yeah.
And it is a like, and so like it feels from the outside as you see this stuff happen. And last year in the sport, which would be season 4 that's covered on the show.
Yeah. Season 4.
The show 2 years?
No,
season 4 would cover the most recent year, right?
This season 4 covers everything up to the current season, which is only 2 races in.
Yeah. Okay. So the last year was different in that. So here's the other thing.
It's the beginning of the first. It's the oh man. Tell him. Oh man, Michael.
This is the thing that's not as apparent about Formula One as a sport.
How good would the Patriots be if you could spend $500 million on your roster?
Probably pretty good.
How bad would the rest of the teams be if you could?
So Formula One has this component that is like both the technical development of the car in relation to the rules and the actual on-track racing. And so like the cars aren't equal, and it's not even like they don't even try. Like they don't want them to be equal. So like some teams are just going to be better than other teams.
There are rules that say how the car, it's like NASCAR, all the cars have to be shaped the same and all that. But then beyond that, it's like, yeah, other than these 10 parts, what is it, 10 parts that are listed?
There's so many rules, dude.
Yeah,
I can't.
There's so basically they say, well, the car has to be this rough shape and it has to have open wheels, and these 10 parts have to be these types of equivalents. And after that, spend whatever amount of money you want to develop the car was the previous rule.
And the most recent set of rules, ignoring this current year, all of these cars were V6 turbo hybrids, which means they all have electric power also. And so like a large part of the development was like, okay, all these people know how to make like V6 engines at this point. Like that's not new. But how you combine that with this electric power so that you can, use both at the same time was like a huge part of it. And Mercedes has dominated this V6 turbo hybrid era for a super long time. And so the actual on-track racing has not been good for many years, except last year when there was an actual fight at the top. Like last year, there was a question who would win the championship spoiler alert, all the way down to the last race.
Because of a rule change.
And that is new for the sport. Like generally, the top of the sport is not interesting. The people that win are like known months and months ahead of time. And so all the midfield where they're filming and stuff is where all the action is even, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was McLaren was the big story in season 3 of like Michael McLaren being like, oh yeah, we got 3rd place this year. Woo! And that was like the big drama for Netflix to follow, was like, will this team that copied Mercedes' car beat McLaren? And then they're like, oh yeah, and by the way, Red Bull and Mercedes won a lot of races that we're not even going to talk about because they were hundreds of points away from all the other teams.
Sure.
When your team is like getting 1-2 or 2-3 or whatever every race, and then everyone else starts low, you know, it's starting like your highest place you can get is 5. It's going to be pretty tough to catch up to the guy, you know, who's getting 1s and 2s every race.
But, you know, there's a lot I get, and this is what I wanted to ask you about with the show, was like, it's very obvious that is a lot of manufactured drama, especially when they get access to the teams. And the only thing they keep coming up with every season is like, these 2 teammates hate each other. And it's like, really, I don't think it's that bad, man.
And I think the drivers would tell you that's true. I don't think any of the drivers hate each other. Like
no, there's 20 of them. And it's like one of those things where like there's 20 of these guys in the entire world. 30 if you count the backup drivers.
Right. It is definitely,
you know, I mean, I'm sure there are guys that hate each other. I'm sure there's a lot of dudes that closet hate Lewis Hamilton. I'm sure there's a lot of, you know, like animosity for top drivers.
And especially there are like incidents on track where, you know, and that happens in the real races. Like a guy crashes into another guy and you incur millions of dollars of expense having to rebuild these cars, you know, and especially for the guy who got crashed into, like what was he supposed to do? This other guy drove into the side of him, and I'm sure he's not happy about that.
Yeah.
But, you know, you don't come out then guns blazing to the media. You know, like the worst thing they'll say was like, oh, I don't think I was at fault. You know, this was, you know, unfortunate this happened to me, like that kind of stuff. They don't ever say like, that guy's terrible, he shouldn't be racing. Like,
well, it's interesting that
he's safe, like all that kind of stuff.
So it's interesting you bring that up. Have you ever watched Drive to Survive?
No, I haven't.
Okay. It's interesting that you bring up the crashing and that sort of thing, because one of the things they do is they follow Alex Albon, who was a driver for Red Bull, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the time they show a couple races where he's like, oh, he's going to get the podium for 3rd. And you can never really be sure that that's true. Like Netflix may be kind of making up how close he was to actually getting to the podium. But they make a point to show Lewis Hamilton in multiple races pit maneuver him and knock him out of the race. And that Hamilton at one point gets multiple time violations for having done it multiple times to the same guy.
There is a famous incident where Albon was going to get 3rd place, and Lewis Hamilton essentially crashed into him. Lewis would say not maliciously, you know, because Lewis wanted to be 3rd and was trying to pass and yada yada, but like took him out of the race. And, you know, Lewis's points were fine. Is finishing 1st and 2nd almost every race.
Yeah.
You know, Albon was not and could have really used those 3rd place points.
Well, he might still be in the sport. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to tell you who the current lineup of drivers are because it's going to spoil maybe some stuff that happens for you there. But yeah, it's, I think, you know, and then you'll watch all this and then you'll go look at Formula One now. They changed so much this most recent year. The cars look completely different.
Oh, really? So the other thing, Michael, they're changing is that they are going to put a money cap on the sport to encourage actual racing.
Yeah, right. The owners of the sport have instituted a cap this year, along with the change in the regs for the the new look cars. Yeah.
Haas must be drooling.
Andrew, the 2 races this year.
Yeah.
Haas got 5th place in one of them.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Was it Magnussen?
Oh, it was Magnussen.
So
Haas he was on his way to getting a high place in the second one too. He still ended up pretty high.
I do know, as a spoiler, that Haas that he was out because he gets kicked out in the 3rd season, and I assume he replaced the Russian driver,
the Nikita Mazepin that no one liked. Yes.
Yeah. Who they used.
Did the Netflix show talk about why no one liked him?
No, not so far. In midway through season 4, or 3 episodes into season 4, he hasn't really featured much other than being like, "This is the new guy from Russia for Haas."
He was very credibly accused of groping a woman, by like posting a video of him doing it, and then he didn't apologize. Okay. And then a bunch of people later came out and said like, "Hey, this guy's a jerk and a creep. We hate him."
Okay, good. So no big loss. That's good.
Yep, exactly. When the Russian sanctions came in, like his father is a owner of one of the giant Russian petrochemical companies. It was just like, well, later, guys.
Yeah, so it was made very clear even by Netflix that he was there because his father was a sponsor and Haas needed a sponsor.
To be clear, the father sports son into the race thing isn't that uncommon.
No,
so
I mean, Aston Martin
for that.
Aston Martin has
Lance Stroll, right?
Lance Stroll, yeah, exactly.
Who's literally the son of the guy who bought the team so that his son could race for it. So that's not that uncommon. Like, you can't fault them for that part, but you can fault them for the part of them supporting Putin.
Michael, if you're now interested in F1, Drive to Survive is pretty dang good. In so much as you have to take it with they are playing up the drama as much as possible, and it's somewhere in between. For me, not having paid much attention to F1, just enough attention because some of our family loves it to be conversational, it inspired questions for me like, oh, I should look up about this, or I should look up about that, or like, now I want to ask JJ, is Lewis Hamilton a dirty driver, or is he a normal driver that Netflix plays up? Because like multiple times they show him doing an unsafe start from the pit lane and getting a 10-second penalty and calling that unfair, and like, are they making him look like a whiner, or is he actually a whiner? Like, it doesn't seem like you can get a real answer.
I would say that every driver thinks nothing is their fault generally.
That's very clear that every driver thinks they're Lewis Hamilton.
It is extremely rare that anyone will admit that they did something wrong, right?
Yeah.
So, does Lewis think he's a terrible driver? No.
Oh, I don't think he's it's very clear he's not a terrible driver. He's won the most F1 races of anybody alive or dead.
Right. And, tied for the most world championships with Michael Schumacher. So,
yeah,
if you, he would say that he's races clean and is always doing the appropriate things. But also, when he hits you, the other driver will say it's his fault, and Lewis will say, I was just racing hard. And is that wrong? Is that how you win?
It's interesting.
Both can be right?
It's interesting that you can do it one way, but you can't do it the other way, is what I would say, right? Like, if you hit Lewis Hamilton because you were racing hard, what would happen?
Well, you look like a villain for crashing out the favored world champion, right?
Yeah.
And also, like, on top of all of this is the teams have points separate from the drivers.
Oh, yeah.
And so the teams have a vested interest in you. In a NASCAR race, right? You want to win, and you have a team. Yeah. But like, it's not like shake and bake Ricky Bobby. Like, and in F1, it kind of is though. Like, the team has a vested interest in whichever one of the two they think is faster getting more points. And they don't want you to race your teammate, because if you crash into him, you're both out and we get nothing. Right?
Yeah, they show a lot of that. Because
it happens.
They really do.
The drivers want to win.
Yeah.
And the team is like, you're going to pull over and let him pass. And they don't like it.
And multiple times have crashed because they don't listen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that stuff is real. Like, and that you definitely hear, like, if you watch a race broadcast or something, you'll hear them like talking like, oh, these two are dueling. Are they going to let them duel it out? Or are they going to tell them to stop? Or those sorts of things definitely are things that happen. And you will eventually hear like radio messages from the teams. Okay, let so and so by. He has a different strategy, or whatever.
Yeah, it's an interesting strategy for the F1 sport to have let Netflix do this, and for them to have let them continue despite maybe people not liking it inside of F1.
I suspect that. Well, I don't know, but I suspect if too many more drivers agree to stop talking to them, they won't have a lot of material to go on anymore, and they might have to change directions. But who knows? I don't know.
I would also suspect that given the ratings boost they've gotten from it, the FIA will be like, nah, we're keeping this king going.
Yeah, but then they have to switch to a real sports documentary thing, which is then going to be different than what
my point was going to be was, I was going to ask maybe Michael, would you watch something like this for other sports? Because it seems like, to me, it's a genius idea.
I mean, a little bit of it feels kind of like the Hard Knocks series.
Oh, Hard Knocks. That's a good point. Yeah.
Where they kind of take not necessarily the worst team in the NFL, but the same sort of thing, like a team that has a storyline for them to follow and follows them in the offseason.
God, maybe they should do Hard Knocks for F1.
I think the interesting thing is that and maybe this is something that I'm aware of because I'm more into the sport, but I think people don't realize how much personalities are driving what's going on in these circumstances. The team principals, cannot stop talking to the media.
Oh my God,
bro, sometimes the right thing to do is to shut up. And some of them just want, microphone, hello.
Yeah, let me say what I have to say.
They cannot stop themselves, I swear, some of them. And you would think they would know better, but
yeah,
it's part of why it, I think their egos are too big in some instances, right?
So at some point during the documentary in season 3 beginning-ish, Williams stopped talking to Netflix entirely. So they didn't even have a send-off when I guess the Williams family doesn't even run the team anymore.
Yep. The daughter sold the team to a business interest.
Yeah. I would think that baseball has got to be looking at this really hard.
I would be if I was them. Man, there has got to be some good drama in baseball for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So many petty grievances that teams would air against each other.
Some hybrid of this and Hard Knocks between the maybe 5 teams a year or something like that would okay, let's identify the 5 teams that are really going to be fighting it out this year. Or let's do the, I don't know, AL West, or let's do the, something. Yeah, they'd have to narrow the focus.
A division that plays each other a bunch, because then you get to let so and so's a dirty pitcher. We got to, get back at him for hitting our guy 3 months ago or whatever, all that kind of stuff.
Something. Some sports would really benefit from this type of thing, as I now have an interest in F1 that I know was not. I know the documentary is not the thing, right? It's clearly not what it's like to actually watch F1, but being ooh, I wonder if I watched a season of F1, who I actually would like as a driver. Do I like Verstappen? Do I like, who? I don't know. So JJ, we got to know who you root for. That's all.
This weekend, the Australian Grand Prix is at 10 o'clock at night our time, which is reasonable by F1 standards typically. So just hey, come check it out. Last year I rooted for Max over Lewis. If that's the question there.
Yeah.
Mostly because I was rooting for the team that hadn't won. Not that I have any particular dislike of Lewis, but he had won the last 6 world championships in a row.
It is interesting to try and figure out which team you like, because it's do you go with Ferrari or do you go with,
I think in previous years, I don't know if it's going to be true this year or not, but in previous years, there used to be this concept called Formula 1.5.
What?
And people would take the top 2 or 3 teams, and because like I said, the stratosphere of teams is the teams at the very top, no one is touching them, and then the middle field teams is where all the interesting stuff is.
Yeah.
And so you take the top teams out of the equation and pretend they don't exist. And you like start at 5th and be like, oh man, my dude is getting 7th place from 14th. Hell yeah. This guy is awesome.
Yeah.
They
showed a race with
total thing like that. Yeah.
What was it? It was Sergio Perez went from 18th to 1st.
Yeah, dude. Crazy stuff happens, dude. Crazy stuff happens.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should all root for Guybrush Threepwood next season.
A true hero.
The only hero if you're a fan of the Monkey Island series.
How many people do you think even know what this is anymore?
Oh, I'm sure that there is someone who's out there listening who's jumping up and down that we mentioned this finally.
I mean, I'm excited about it.
And kudos to you.
I think you mean clicking up and down.
Wow.
Yeah, PC games. Although, like I said,
no, you can't jump in the first game, right? Isn't it just a point and click?
They're all point and clicks.
Yeah.
I do think the remake ones came to consoles, right?
Right.
But yeah, some of the original creators of Monkey Island 1 and 2 are making a Monkey Island 3.
Yeah, I wonder how they got around LucasArts on this.
LucasArts is named in the opening teaser intro.
Oh.
So is the company. Ron Gilbert, the writer who did not come for Monkey Island 3 and beyond. And who's the other? Some of the other writers. The original voice, I think, of Guybrush Threepwood said he's coming back.
Yes, they got him.
And man, just what a out of left field. So I read. Did you guys read this?
I mean, did they get Tim Schafer to come back? That's what I need to know.
No, Tim Schafer is not involved that I know of.
I see. Okay.
The guy, shoot, I just forgot his name.
The guy.
Ron Gilbert, thank you. Announced this on his blog on April 1st.
What a guy.
That's cruel.
He's never done an April Fool's joke before this. And he said many, many years ago at some point, someone recorded an interview with him that said, if I was ever going to do a Monkey Island game, I would never do it unless I own the IP rights, right? He said that famously.
Okay.
And then he also famously said, and if I ever did, I would announce it on April 1st.
What a guy.
And the joke, and so if people have seen that trailer, the joke is, as that skull bounces onto the thing and says, like, Ron Gilbert said he wouldn't do a Monkey Island unless, and like they throw him into the water. Because obviously he doesn't own the IP, like they're not giving it up.
Right.
So they must have convinced him in some other way to come back. But supposedly coming out this year, which is super cool.
Which means it's been in the works for quite some time under the wraps.
I believe he said they've been working on it for 2 years already.
Wow.
And I think
should we even explain what Monkey Island is for the people that were born after 1990?
I guess we should.
I don't know. It's a point and click adventure. I mean, it's just.
So do you need to explain what a point and click adventure is?
Again, anyone born after 1990 doesn't know what a point and click adventure is.
And so, like, very specifically, though, it was these like 2 original beloved pixel art adventure games that when the original creators left after the second one, the third version of the game, which is called, I think, Curse of Monkey Island, completely revamped the art style and actually is like really famous in its own right and like people really like.
Oh yeah, Curse of Monkey Island's good.
Curse of Monkey Island is good. But the creators said that they were going to start at Monkey Island 3. They didn't want to do, because I think there were like 5 games or something. And they wanted to pick up where they left off at the end of the second one and continue their own story. And, you know, then he on Twitter made a point of saying, like, I like Monkey Island 3. It's not non-canon anymore. We're doing the thing. Y'all figure it out. Like, you know, I'm not saying anything, but he also said, I am not above stealing the good parts of those games and incorporating the characters you love. And
do you think Tales of Monkey Island gets included then?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Huh. I wonder if I have these special editions. I got to double check.
I heard those special editions are kind of bad.
Oh, okay.
But so anyway, super cool that they're doing this, and like that is just like the most like old school game, like feel good announcement I think that could be made.
Yeah, I'm into that. And hey, if you were into Vampire Survivors like us, you should listen to last week's pod, because there was a lot of news on there that I didn't know. So,
dude,
yeah, bunch of new stuff coming your way,
man. Well, it was fun talking Formula One tonight. Sorry, Michael.
It was illuminating.
You know, I really think that someone somewhere has got to be looking at that and being like, every major sport needs one of these.
Oh, shoot. I knew what I was going to say. I got sidetracked about Formula One. There is a podcast that I think is really great about Formula One that I listen to that people should check out. It's called Shift F1. And it's 3 former or current video game guys who are big F1 fans, and they talk about F1 stuff.
Cool.
And they have every year they call it a primer on the current season that explains all the rules, all the drivers, who they are, all the teams, and all the how the sport works essentially, and like teaches you from like a basic level up to like, you know, almost an intermediate level. Like, you know, they're not going to explain to you how aerodynamics work and how like, you know, power steering and all this kind of stuff. They don't explain that, but like they teach you like, what are tires? How does tire strategy work? What is the main interesting points of watching a race? How do I watch a race? All this kind of stuff. Super good. And their preseason primer this year, I forget the number of the episode, but it's not that long ago because we're only a couple races in. So you can go back in their feed and watch the primer for this current season and then pick up watching. They're on weekends. I don't know. Not every weekend, but frequently.
It's like every other weekend.
It's whenever they feel like doing it, man. I don't know. The schedule is like impossible.
The real question is to tie this back into video games, whether I need one of these setups so that I can play Formula One games. I linked it in the chat.
I thought you were trying to declutter your office.
Yeah, but look at that thing. It's a lot cheaper than owning a race car.
iRacing is supposedly very, very accurate, if that's what you're looking for.
I've heard that iRacing is accurate, but not fun.
Because I think if you were driving a real car, it's not fun. Like, iRacing is as serious as, like, if you get penalties, you are penalized. Like, if you do stuff that would be illegal in real life, they penalize you in the game. And, like, will demote your account and like stop letting you enter races and stuff.
Yeah, if you're running into people all the time and stuff like that, they just ban you.
Or like if you are overtaking people illegally or like doing moves that would get you penalties or whatever, they will like penalize you in not only in the race but your account for driving unsafely.
Wow.
It's very serious.
Well, you need a serious setup like this one. It's one of those
like cockpits. Link. It's really insane looking.
Yeah. It's a cockpit basically. The inside of an F1 car that you sit in and then put monitors in front of your face, I assume. Oh boy. Well, if people want to send us links to their F1 setup,
they can send that to podcast@weweregamers.com, and that's our email address. We will check that email, and we talk about them every so often. So get those in. If you have sweet racing tips or whatever, send them there. And find us on your favorite podcasting app of choice. Give us a rating on there. That would really help us out. And we are also on YouTube. If you search for We Were Gamers, all one word, and follow us on there, that would be a big help too.
I love that. The announcers they use for that show must be real, but they sound fake.
Do they sound British?
Oh yeah, they're very British.
Okay. Huge portion of F1's media and like machinery and like all British, like all based in Britain. Like actually ESPN typically, or ESPN2 more likely, carries the races here in the US, and they straight up show the feed from Sky Sports. So
there you go.
You know, you're getting full Britishisms.
Lights out, let's go racing. It's my bad version. I'll do another take later.
They love to say people's names in such odd ways, and I truly can't tell if that's how the driver would say it, but that guy says it that way.
I definitely heard.
Would you say Ricciardo?
No, I was just about to say that. Like, the guy's name is Ricardo, and I heard a dude say Daniel Ricciardo. I was like,
well, painfully British.
Yeah.
The last year, or I guess this was a couple of years ago now, Lego House had its peak visitation, annual visitation of 250,000 people. So if they continued at that rate, it would take them 3,600 years to go through every unique Lego combination.
Okay, so imagine that you were driving from here to, which one's further, Bakersfield or Barstow? Barstow, right?
Maybe.
Which one's the farther one? Can't ever remember which one's the farther one.
Yeah, I never remember just how far Barstow is.
Yeah, Barstow is that one. Bakersfield's the other one. Okay, imagine you drove from here to Bakersfield or Buttonwillow.
Okay.
That's like what it's driving from. Oh my God, it's actually even farther. Okay, imagine driving from here to Kettleman.
Okay.
Or Fresno. And just like Fresno or Kettleman is where there's an amusement park and a museum and this like Discovery Cube thing. And that's all that's there.
I mean, that In-N-Out in Kettleman may as well be an amusement park.
And I don't mean that to sound like a there's nothing else there thing, but like from the major metropolitan area nearest to those places, with little else other than, like in Kettleman, right? It's ranching. There's not much around the town of Billund where Legoland and Lego House and the Lego Museum are, because it was a ranching area. They were famous for milk and cattle. Like the place where Lego House is the center of town where they had cattle auctions.
Okay.
And now the entire town of Billund is basically owned by Lego, and they have a humongous headquarters there, a huge factory, multiple old factories that are now office buildings, the Lego House in the center of town, which is literally where the old center of town was. They just took it over and knocked everything down. Legoland, the old museum where the guy grew up is now, where his house is now a museum, and the airport. Like that's it. That's the town of Billund. You know, and all the people that live there, and you know, the old farms and rancher stuff, and it's not small or anything like that. I don't mean to imply that it's small, but it by the standard of where we live, it would be hard to get to a place as remote-ish from a population center in terms of where we are at. So I'm trying to give you some context to what it feels like driving there between a place like Copenhagen, which is, I mean, not near the population of Los Angeles, but, you know, in terms of relative populations.
Sure, yeah.
Copenhagen's population is somewhere in the millions once you add in all the suburbs and stuff. But the whole population of Denmark is only about 6 million, I think, maybe a little higher. So it's hard to contextualize it in our scale of population in California. What is it? The entire country of Denmark, I think, size-wise fits in one of the two counties, whichever one's bigger, San Bernardino, Riverside, one of those two.
Wow, okay.
I think physically the space just fits there. It's not very big. It's like, so it's hard to really. Anyway, it's hard to get more than 250,000 people to go out that far. Right? You like, if you're gonna go to Legoland, you have to fly there directly, or take a car from Copenhagen, or fly over from Copenhagen. Like, people
it's
from
a trek,
Germany,
no matter how you slice it.
Yeah, I mean, people from Germany and England and Sweden and Finland and probably France maybe fly there directly to go to Legoland. And then you got to take into account that a lot of the people that go to Legoland probably don't actually go to the Lego house.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't surprise me that the number is not that high per year. So 360,000 years, huh?
3,600.
3,600 years. Sorry.
Same difference at that point.
I mean, yeah, you will be able to reuse the combinations forever.
Yep.
I wonder if they have a computer system somewhere that makes sure it's not giving out doubles. I really hope. I would assume
I hope so.
I would assume, right?
Yeah.
There's a YouTube video about the brick combination thing. And the 6 brick bag has its own Lego piece number. I think it's like 624201 or something like that.
Oh, that's cool.
It's got its own number, like every other Lego poly bag.
Set, yeah.
915,103,776 combinations.
I didn't factor in the extra 15 million, so a little more than 3,600.
Yeah. So each one of us has our own special combo of how you put the bricks together.